Well, there it is, WTiiWarcraft here. Hello, welcome to another map review. This is Greenville Woods. So this map is replacing Mur'gul Oasis in the free-for-all map ladder pools section. So we take a little look at Mur'gul Oasis and show our respects to that map. That's a map that you see in 4th versus 4RT, but it's also in free-for-all. So I'm not sure how much this hurts the free-for-all community by replacing this map, but I can see advantages to playing on that map in free-for-all. But Greenville looks really, really good, to be quite frank with you. It's a very big 4-player map, but because it's in the free-for-all setting, that's perfectly fine, because you want a lot of things to creep, you want a lot of things to do, and potentially get very powerful for that late game where you're up against the last player. We'll take a quick look at what this looks like in Reforged. Let's just have you a little zoom in here. I'm not going to explain anything. I'm just going to give you some feels for the map by scrolling around a little bit, because I'll do the same when I go into Reforged. But you can see the farmstead. I said I wasn't going to explain anything. Here we go. This little Misha music. Okay. There we go. So this is the Reforged equivalent. So we zoom in a bit and try to give you the same sort of vibe. So it's got actually quite the bright terrain there. Coming around. It looks quite good in this little bit, I think. That suits Reforged a bit better. That's a nice big log. There's the farmstead again. A very large lamppost. Okay, so that's your feel for it. We're Reforged. We'll come back to Classic. And we'll take a look at the Object Manager, which is a good way to break down the map. So we're going to take a look at the passive. There's a lot going on this map, by the way. So you got your passive buildings. This would include your mercenary camps. So there's 4 of those. So there's 4 of each of the main buildings. So basically each player gets their own exclusive building, rather than having to fight over the buildings. There's 12 gold mines with 4 players. That means there's 8 gold mines spare. So that's technically 2 gold mines for each player. So this is a map where you could potentially really build up some power. Because of how much potential power is actually on this map, I'm a little surprised that there isn't a marketplace, because then you could really fish for some nice items to complement your powerful heroes if you weren't able to find them from the creek camps. So it's definitely missing a marketplace. Where you would necessarily stick that marketplace, that's up to the map creator. That's not my job. But I would certainly say a marketplace would be most welcome. Heck, just have it almost right next to the tavern. Screw it. If you've got to put it somewhere, do it. Here goes the neutral units. They are very angry. There are many of them. It's this kind of bandity kind of feel where you're in a village, or you're on the outskirts of a village, so you're kind of close to a town, but you're also far away enough from it where the bad guys live. So you've got all these wizards, these renegades, the kobolds, the brutes from the gnolls. So they're all sort of circling around. There's a good vibrant feel of creatures clutter in this map. And I say clutter, not necessarily in a bad way, but definitely clutter, because there's a lot of them. There's 212 hostile units to kill. That is a heck of a lot. You certainly aren't going to be shy of things to level up on. So this is a map you're almost definitely going to want to go triple hero on. I can tell you that much for sure. Let's take a look at the items actually as well. That will give you a bit of an indication. So there are permanent items. There are charged items as you expect. Lots of options for very powerful permanent items. There's 8 when it comes to level 4 and 5. So either of those could be aura items like Kagga's pipe, you know, Scourge bone chimes, that kind of stuff. So a good way to sort of build up a potential army and complementary hero combo. The charged items may be a little bit lacking, which is kind of odd, because there's so much dedication towards the permanent that you could probably drop a little bit of that dedication and add to the charged. And the best way to complement the drop in the permanent would be to add in the marketplace, so that if you didn't get the permanent item you was after, you could pick it up later. But obviously at an expensive cost, because it does cost a lot of money. The reason why I get away with it in 4 versus 4 RT is because I don't often lose many units, so I don't have much gold to spend on, so I can build up fast quantities of gold, staying at 50 food, go to the marketplace, and whilst these items might cost like anything between 500 to 800 gold for the more powerful ones, I can afford it. And then I've got a really cool aura to help complement me. And look at this. The power-ups. There are 40 level 1 power-ups. So that's like Tome of Strength +1 or, you know, Agility, Intelligence. So if you was lucky enough, you could get like a Blade Master with like... You're not going to get all of these power-up times by any means. But if you're lucky enough, you might be strong enough to get like 20 of them or something. So that could be like an extra 20 or so stats that could go towards you, which is crazy when you think about it, for building up one particular hero. So I like that. Again, that feeds into the free-for-all aspect. Free-for-all should be a bit larger than life. It's like an exaggerated version of Melee, where you're going to get a bit more in terms of options, in terms of items, in terms of power. Free-for-all should be. Because you don't have, like, you know, Mask of Death and stuff like that in 1 versus 1. You just don't. Because it's just slightly too game breaking. But in free-for-all, I feel like you could allow it. In this map, it's not allowed because there's nothing above level 5, I think, when it comes to permanent items. But I wouldn't even mind that much if there was, because it's supposed to be a little bit larger than life and exaggerated. So the camps are good. You got like little green camps nearby, orange camps, lots of stuff to sort of pull up and creep. Good variety. You got your gnolls, you got your ogres, you got your trolls. Like, it's all happening. The pathing is nice. Like, if we take a look at this, look at all that. That's all the places you can go. Like, all the different ways you can go around. So the middle is like nice and open, but it's got this almost closed in sort of section where you could diverge, and by diverging it might take you on a whole different journey. So really nice to see. I love that the map is just so open. Even this section isn't closed off. I hate it when you have like a really large closed off area. So if I wanted to go from here to here, I have to go this way. There's a lot of older maps that have that kind of problem, but I think newer maps should always implement as many pathways as possible, because it's just more options, more interesting for the player. So this is a really cool outskirted expansion for a player to take, but obviously they're going to be competing versus their nearby opponent. But by taking this expansion, oh boy, it's a pretty nice spot, because you're on a slightly higher terrain path. It's not even your natural, so your natural is here, and it's fairly comfortable versus players from the top, but maybe a little bit exposed from people that are visiting you from the east hand side. But you've got this potential expansion on the side as well. So which one would you rather go for? If you go for the one on the side, I feel like you're more exposed versus this player. But if you go for this one over here, you're more exposed from multiple players making their way to you from the middle. So it intrigues me, really. And I think this is actually a really cool map for free-for-all. Like, I genuinely think this is pretty spot on. I would give it very high marks if I was going to give it some sort of rating. One of the things I would criticize it on, though, is whilst it is nice to have multiple Red Creek camps, we've got 4 of them and they're all in the middle. So wow, wow, wow. That can be a problem. If a player is strong enough to be able to creep one of these and the other players aren't essentially harassing him, he could soak up all of these creep camps, right, for himself and get all the really powerful items. Level 5. The rest of them are level power 1 tomes. But you can get 4 level 5 power up items if you're strong enough to do that and ward off players and bully them to pushing them back down. So there's a lot of reward for the middle. But one thing I don't like quite so much is they're all the same, right? Why not have 2 sets of each? So you could have this group here and over here, and then you could have a different, equally powerful group, but just a different group of mobs. It just kind of seems a bit odd to me that whilst I guess they're the strongest mobs and they've dominated the village and now they own it, I get the theme, but it just looks a bit bland from an actual sort of interest perspective, that they're all essentially the same damn thing in the middle. You would normally have 2 sets, 2 pairs, and then it just adds a lot more flavor and it's not really much work. So generally speaking, the map is just gorgeous though. I think it really works on a lot of levels. It's a little bit bland in terms of the external design and flavor. Like, it's not as overly detailed as it could potentially be, or as I've seen other maps be. I don't think it's quite so adventurous, but that doesn't really take away from it because it's putting the effort in where it actually counts. Like these little fences here just add so much. I really like that, and it's not going to impact on the gameplay. It's just another little cool thing to sort of see whilst you're on your way to another place on the map. So the inside section of the map is spot on. It's just the outside is, I don't know. I don't know if it needs much extra detail though. So I think that's just, if that's what I'm criticizing, I guess that goes to show you how good the map is really. Because there's not even really much to criticize when it comes to the outside of the map. Because it's not even that bad. So I think overall that will do it. I just think there's a lot going on. Even though it sometimes could be seen as a negative to have a lot of sort of high ground and low ground, I think the map blends it really nicely, where it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, I'm on the high ground area now, so I can really manipulate this. It just actually feels kind of naturally baked into the environment. So kudos on that. I'm a big fan of this map. It's for free for all players only, but I'm sure they're going to have a blast on this one. Because I can't really see too many things wrong with it. But of course, if you've got any feedback or criticism, feel free to leave it. And that's the end of this review. So thank you very much for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe, share. It helps out if you're bothered enough to do it. So thank you. Take care and have a good one.